Hey, what's good, everybody? I wanted to make this video about the coyote. The coyote, again, to me is probably more of a totem, but I'm gonna talk about, like, I guess I could talk more personally because, like I said, it's been there throughout my whole life. It's very important to me, and when I see it, I always pay attention. It's not like the hawk that sometimes I forget and I'm like, oh, okay. When I see the coyote, to me, I always pay attention because it every time it brings me a message. It never fails. And you know, it always has to do with change. That's usually what it means for me. It's like a change. Either we forced you into a change because you wouldn't, or there's a change coming, right? And sometimes I'll see it. Like, usually I will see it. I'll see a coyote and then I'll see 555, and a lot of crows too. It'll be crows, 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 crows swooping in on my car as I'm driving, seeing crows like in the middle of the street as I'm driving, or just where they're getting my attention, right? And all in the same day, right? Coyotes, they'll run in front of my car in the middle of the city. Like, what the hell? Like, it's crazy. So they just make themselves known, right? And like, even recently, like just yesterday, right? I went with these friends. And I mean, it's been a long time since I actually hung out with friends, and I had like the best time. I was laughing nonstop for hours and hours, and it was just like a beautiful reminder of why we're here, right? Like, I even have on my merchandise store, like, a shirt that says "Laughter is the best medicine," right? And it has like this heart on it and everything, and that's really taught, right, in native culture, right? Laughter is the best medicine. I always heard it from elders and all this and that, right? So, you know, we forget sometimes. And I had been telling myself, oh, I'm going to take like a month off of work, or like for a long time. And, the whole year went by, and, I would be working like 7 days a week sometimes, and this and that. So, it really takes a lot to make me, I guess, kind of stop the focus of something, right? But I was being shown spiritually, like, hey, like, it's time to take a break from things. And even though I might take a break from work, I'm probably still gonna be doing stuff with the podcast. Or even, it's crazy, like, I had this other channel I was trying to grow, and it's been growing. Like, that one has like over 400 subscribers, and this one, the podcast channel, has like 130 something, I saw. So, I mean, it's been growing steadily, right, since I started it in March. But it's crazy that other one was just growing by itself, really, right? So, all that to say, like, it was like something kind of forced me to where, like, I had not, like, I didn't have to. Obviously, it was a choice, and I even felt uneasy as I was going, right, as I was driving to my friends. Like, it was just like, I don't know, it felt weird. I felt uneasy. I was like cautious, like, I don't know why. Like, I felt cautious, like just some weird thing, right? It was just like, huh. I don't know. I was looking for signs, maybe something to tell me, like, go back home, or that's how long it had been. And it was just weird, right? So that's the kind of thing sometimes with the coyote. It'll like when I left my job of 9 years, the last, like, that day, there was a coyote in front of my house. Cause I was still in my head, like, damn, what did I do? Like, after I had given my 2 weeks notice, and they caused it, like, something. It had to be so big that it happened, that I left that job, right? It was crazy, all the circumstances, which I had forgotten all of them until right now, as I'm telling you this. I just remembered exactly the circumstances. There was even more to it that made me leave that job of 9 years. So that's amazing that just popped in my head right now, because I hadn't remembered that detail for years. But long story short, that's the day that I left that job, there was a coyote in front of my house, and I was like, what? I've never had seen a coyote in front of my house. And, like, and I worked like kind of a graveyard job, so it was like from like around 2 or 3 in the morning, there's a coyote in front of my house, and I was just like, what the hell? And then, after that job, after that day, I even drove out to the beach, and I was like, oh, please tell me, like, I made the right decision. And I saw a shooting star, and it was like, okay. So then I was like, all right, here we go. Like, here's the new adventure, right? So the coyote will appear like that. It never fails with change. Or when I've ended a relationship, and boom, there's the coyote, like, kind of showing like, hey man, because sometimes it'll be like the dumbest. It'll be something that's already kind of in the works, but then it'll be the dumbest argument that kind of sealed the deal, and we'll stop talking. When I've been in a relationship, and then the coyote appears, and I'm like, oh wow, like the spirit world was working its magic, right? Like it was working its magic, and then boom, that's what finally did it, right? So it's that, but it's also, if you want to talk about when you have the coyote energy, it's also it's a really playful, you know, spirit animal as well. So that's why it was funny about yesterday, right? That I had such a good time laughing and everything, joking around. It's also like, I'll put it to you like this. It's also like, it's called the reluctant hero, right? Not that I'm a hero or nothing. I even made a song where the whole purpose of that song was to teach you to be the hero of your own story. It doesn't matter if no one else is cheering for you or this and that. Like when I wrote that song, it's called Greatest Alive. I woke up and I was just in the greatest mood. And it was just like one of those, when you're feeling yourself kind of thing, it was like, and it just, well, actually, someone had given me these beats to write these songs, and I was like, all right, cool. And I happened to listen to that beat, and that's the song that came out. And I was like, man, like it put me in the greatest of moods, and that song changed my whole vibe. And it was like, yeah, like no matter what, like be the hero of your own story, right? Like whatever you want to, it doesn't matter if you have someone cheering, like, the spirit world's cheering for you, right? Your ancestors are cheering for you, so it's fine. And the coyote has that energy, because it's also the reluctant hero, right? It's like, it doesn't really want to do something. It's enjoying life like on its own terms, right? That's how I am, even with this, my whole approach to spirituality. Like, I didn't ask for it, or at least not in this lifetime, or not that I remembered, right? So growing up, it was like, I didn't ask for this, but you guys gave it to me, so I'm guessing I'm supposed to learn more, right? So that's kind of how I went with it. That's when I started, studying the Bible, and then reading other books and other books and other books. It was just my whole first, like, half of my life was just learning, because I was like, wow, why did I get this? Why did you guys make me a freak of nature? Like, I didn't know other people yet. So, and then even in these spiritual places that you thought they weren't even there. Like, so I couldn't talk to anybody. The best reference I had was like people in the Bible. I was like, oh wow, I'm like this guy or that guy, like things that happened to them were happening to me. So that became my, so I didn't really even talk to people with that. It was more just like books were the only ones I had for reference, because people out here didn't talk about it if they were experiencing it, right? So they made me feel like a freak as well. So it was kind of that. Like, I didn't want to. Like, that's the coyote, the reluctant hero. It doesn't want to do things. It's kind of forced in a way. Like, fine. Like, if nobody else is going to do it, I'll do it. Like, that's kind of the attitude, right? And so that's what it was. Since I didn't have people around me talking about this stuff. I had a friend earlier this year. It was so weird, right? Like, it was like Father's Day. And a friend from that I hadn't talked to in a couple years just randomly, like, oh, no, I think I had seen them once last year. But this Father's Day, it was like a friend just messaged me all random, like, hey, man, happy Father's Day. And I was just like, what the? And he was like, you were always kind of like, I thought of you like a father, like, and I'm not that much older than him, but he's like, oh, I thought of you like, you always had this knowledge and wisdom. And I'm just like, damn, like, that really hit me, right? Like, it really, I guess, pulled on my heartstrings, right? Because it made me realize, like, damn, even doing things my way, I guess, being out there, like, still acting a fool, like, I was still giving knowledge, even, like, in my thug life days, right? Like, I was still giving that knowledge to people that were around me, that would listen, right? Like, people that would heed what I was saying. I had that knowledge, but it's not like I didn't want the role, right? Like, I wasn't trying to be, like, I think at some point people told me, like, oh, you should be a preacher or stuff like that, like the pastors, whatever. But I knew that wasn't my role. I'm not going to go be a pastor at a church, right? So I had to find my own way of teaching. Like, I knew I was in tune, right? I knew I was getting, like, I had this connection to spirit directly. But, I wasn't going to do this. I wasn't going to put on the whole, like, outfit and be, be all proper and this and that. Although, I've changed, because so I do see that, right? Sometimes, like, if you're too loose, so you just got to choose, right? I know with who I could be loose and they won't take it too far, right? Like, who I can just be clowning around with, like yesterday, right? It was the most perfect, like, no No one got like we clowned as much, like we talked about everything. It was the funniest thing, just laughing and laughing and laughing, and it's cool. Everybody's like it's clowning to a point, but not passing that disrespect point, right? It's not like telling anyone like, "Oh, you stupid idiot," or nothing dumb like that. It's just like clowning, even, but in a good way, right? Like so it's cool to keep that in a good way spirit, right? So it's like that, like the coyote is, like the reluctant hero kind of thing. Like I don't want to do it, but if no one else is gonna do it, then fine. Or you have the abilities, right? You have the skills. Like hey, like not to be like all boastful or nothing, but it's kind of like who can do it better? Like it's like it reminds me of that song like Nate Dogg and Warren G. Oh wow, like that wind is blowing like crazy right now. It's raining. It's crazy. That's why I have time to do this too, because I'm not gonna go nowhere. Let me do this Coyote video, right? So what do you call it? Yeah, like Nate Dogg and Warren G, they have this song like nobody does it better. I don't know if I sang that right, but whatever. Like they have that nobody does it better. So there's nothing wrong with like feeling confident in your abilities, right? But that's the coyote, right? The reluctant hero. I didn't want to do it, but fine, I'll do it. Like, so somehow I fell into this role of teaching things spiritually because it's all through not like experience, right? It's 100% through experience. I've I've learned it. I've just like that. I earned the right to have fun and this and that, even though I forget sometimes. I forget that, like, why are we here if not to enjoy life? Still be responsible, do what you need to do, help who you need to help. But, I mean, like that, like the old native wisdom, right? Like old native wisdom, laughter is the best medicine, right? So I know I'm making this super long, but it's the trickster energy, pushing you to do something that you're just not budging on doing. They'll make it happen in the spirit world. So it's never like don't lose your, ish, like, oh, why did this happen to me? It was most likely you weren't listening. You're being hard headed. You already knew what you're supposed to do. So what's the problem? Just do it already. Like there really isn't nothing to be afraid of in life, right? Like I'm not saying go jump out of a plane because you just like, I don't know, if you really feel like that's something you need to overcome, then do it. Or don't play dodge, with a train or something like that, right? But there really isn't nothing to be afraid of. For me, I know that in a different way, right? From like what I dream and everything, like premonitions. I know sometimes it's like it almost seems like everything's already written, right? But I'm not gonna explode your brain with that kind of information, right? So it's just that, right? The trickster, the reluctant hero, change is coming, transformation. It's telling you like get ready, you know what I mean? Don't forget to be playful as well, right? It's okay to be playful, be in that energy. Also, what else? What else? Really smart. I guess this is kind of a sad thing, right? But the coyote, like when they want, when they're hungry or whatever, like they'll send in, they'll send, for example, like a female coyote, and she'll go play with the dog. She's all playing, and then, hey, come on, like and then the dog will follow her into like the woods or something, and boom, there'll be like 4 or 5 coyotes, and they'll attack and they'll eat the dog, right? Like I've gone hiking and I found like the bones of a dog, and I was like, oh wow, like that's pretty sad, But they'll do that, so they're very smart when they want to be, right? What does that mean? It's like they're the epitome of like what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention, right? Necessity is the mother of an invention with the natural world, right? You could see it, that they'll come up with things to get what they need to get, right? And they're to me they're adorable, right? When you see them hunting, like I'll put a video, or I already did, of like the way it's hopping, like man, and they're very, I think the word is agile, right? Like they could hop, like when I've seen coyotes hop walls and everything, they're very resourceful. They're very smart, resourceful, cunning, right? So they have all that energy. So when you see the coyote, you might be, in that energy, or that's why it can bring you a warning, like, hey, there might be someone in your midst that's having that trickster energy, so be careful. But to me, it usually doesn't mean that. Like I've never really had a negative experience with the coyote, right? I've actually seen more like snakes when I had some, because snakes are really positive to me. I love snakes because it's about healing, right? But there has been times where I'll be walking, in the hills, and like I said, I go off the path when I'm hiking, or I don't know if I mentioned that. Like when I'm hiking, I ran into coyotes, and I'll be off the path. All of a sudden, there's a snake hidden underneath like the leaves or something. I'll see it, and I'm like, oh wow, and it'll catch me by surprise, and I'll get that feeling that it's telling me like, hey, beware, there's something around you at this moment. That someone's being sneaky, someone's being shady, or it'll come to me in dreams usually. But that's one of those animals that I get sometimes that have that negative, that could have a double meaning, right? But the coyote also, see, like that, like I have such a strong connection. I've ran into, when I've gone off path, I ran into coyote, like three big coyotes, and they'll never, like, they haven't attacked me, right? Uh, they haven't attacked me. So and in those same hills, I ran into people that were like, oh, I got attacked by coyotes. And I'm like, oh, wow. So I don't know why there's such a strong connection. I think I heard this lady that had that has a spirit animal channel. And, like even this, right? Like because I already saw that people have spirit animal channels, like whole channels dedicated to spirit animals. So I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to, like, step on anyone's toes or this and that. But these, like, like, I know I could talk about it from experience. Like, I don't always hear people that talk about it from experience. Like, people will make the videos because I guess they're like, oh, I want to do this, and they'll do it. But to me, it's like they've been pushing me to do it, right? To make some videos about spirit animals, because like my friend always tells me, like, man, I like you, to me you're like the animal whisperer, something like that, just because I always, like, on a daily basis, I have encounters with animals that bring me messages, right? And they even come in my dreams and all this and that. So it's almost like that. So even in that sense, the coyote kind of pushed me to just make some videos, and I kind of ran with it. But I'm still gonna go back to the podcast, so I'm not gonna make this like a whole it's just kind of a one-stop hub for all spiritual things, really, because I experience things daily, right? So anyways, I'm gonna share this last story, and then that's it. I'll cut it. It was a funny story once, right? Like I said, I went off the path when I was hiking, and I ran into this baby deer. Like, it could barely stand on. It was still shaky, so I knew it had just, it wasn't that old. Maybe not even a month. I don't even know. But it had these little shaky legs, and it's walking. And the mom's over there, like, with her head up in the trees. Like, I don't know. She was eating something kind of a little high, so her neck is all up, and she's not paying attention. And here I am approaching, and she hasn't even seen me. And deers have amazing intuition, but she didn't hear me or see me or nothing. And I was kind of creeping up, and I just stop, and I'm observing the little baby deer because it's adorable, and it sees me, and it just looks right at me, and then it starts kind of prancing towards the mom with its little wobbly legs. And then I look to the right, and here's this coyote, like, all stealthy, like one foot at a time, like super quiet, and it's making its way towards the baby deer. So I'm like, oh wow, this thing's about to try to get the deer, and before I got a chance to, like, yell at it, it just turns, looks at me, and it was like the cartoons, right? Like the face it made was just funny. It was like the funniest thing I saw. Like, holy crap, that's why they use it in the cartoons, because it really is a character, right? Like, it's funny. And they just took off running, like, just picture like that Wile E. Coyote or something funny, right? So it was just amazing. So they are like kind of comedians. I know they say the bear is like the comedian of the animal kingdom, but to me the coyote is very playful and funny as well. Just the dumb things. And they're very curious, right? They'll always, when I seen a coyote, it sees me and then it runs over a hill, and I'll wait, and sure enough, it peeks back. They always peek back. They're so curious, right? And to me, see, that's why I guess I relate it to, like, Geminis, right? We're curious. We'll kind of like, huh? Rather than, I guess that's why there's not a, like, if we can, or I don't really feel fearful, right, with the Gemini energy, right? Because I think the curiosity will supersede the fear. If you have any fear, it'll be like, oh man, I don't know if I should do this or what, but I'm kind of curious, so let me see, And that's why sometimes, I guess, you could even see, like, dead coyotes got hit by a car or something, because it's like, I don't know what the hell they were doing that they went back. But they'll do that. They'll literally go back. Like, they gotta see, like, what was that? Like, oh, this thing just scared me, but let me look back real quick. Like, what was that, And so it's funny. Like, it has that curiosity. It's a very curious, wanting to learn kind of animal as well. So I don't know if that relates to, like, however you're feeling spiritually, right? Oh, and I think they mate for life too. Damn, see, now it's coming to me like the little things from it. They mate for life too, so it's great when you're dealing with family kind of stuff, right? Like you might be thinking like like the if you're around like that, right? Like your family and this. I forgot how it is, but they're really they work as a team, right? When with the cubs, I think that's what they're called, right? For the pups, the cubs, whatever. For the coyote, they work very good as a family unit, right? And I'll see them a lot like that. I'll see the male and female roaming together, looking for food, and yeah, I think they mate for life. So if you ever want to think about it like that, if you're in a partnership and you're seeing the coyotes, it's probably a good sign in that way. If you think about it, if you're wanting to get signs relationship wise or family wise, they're really good family spirit animals, and really good like with like relationship, right? Like that kind of stuff. So I think I'll end it there. um Thanks for watching, thanks for listening to my stories. Don't forget to subscribe. Share with me in the comments your experiences with the coyote. Like I said, it's more of a totem for me. One day I'll share. I even have this medicine staff that has like a coyote skull and all these animals. It's funny because these animals that I'm talking about, I know the medicine staff has like something from a hawk, the coyote, the raccoon. Like, so all these animals that I run into, I already have had a connection with them since, I think I got that medicine staff when I was like 18. I believe it could have been. I don't think it was 17. I think I was 18 years old when I got that medicine staff that called out to me. And, so it's been around me since that long, right? Like, I didn't realize it till later in life. Like, well, of course I circled back to all these spirit animals. Like, they've been with me all this time. So it's pretty interesting, right? But yeah, I'll end it there. Thanks again. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you soon. Peace. That's right. Yeah, sometimes you just feeling it, you know what I'm saying? You just feeling it. And I want to feel this way forever.